Chapter 5, Mishnah 1. The Mishnah describes the procedure for tithing Demai bread. There are three portions that must be separated from it. Trumas Meiser, Meiser Sheni, which are the two tithes that must always be separated from Demai, and Challah, the gift to the Kohen that must be taken from every large dough. We now turn to the words of the Mishnah. If someone buys bread made from Demai from a baker, how does he tithe the bread? The procedure involves separate steps. First, he marks off a portion of the loaf sufficient for both Trumas Maisa, 1/100th of the loaf, and Challah, 1/48th of the loaf. And he says, 1/100th of what is here, i.e., 1/100th of the entire loaf, is hereby designated as part of the Meiser Rishon on this side of the mark. And the rest of the Meiser Rishon, another 9/100ths of the loaf, is designated next to it on the other side of the mark. Thus, 1/10th of the loaf has now been designated as a Meiser Rishon, 1/10th of the Meiser Rishon on the side of the mark, and the other 9/10ths on the other side. The 10th of the Meiser Rishon that is on the first side of the mark is now ready to be designated as Trumas Meiser, and the rest of that side is now ready to be designated Challah. The buyer now says the following. This 10th on the first side of the mark that I just made into the first part of the Meiser Rishon is hereby made into Trumas Maisa for the rest of the Meiser Rishon that is on the other side of the mark, and the remainder of what is on the first side of the mark is hereby made into Challah. Thus, the entire first side of the mark has now been sanctified as either Trumas Meiser or Challah, both of which must be given to a Kohen. The side of the loaf may now be separated and given to a Kohen. It is now time to designate Meiser Sheni. He now says the following. And the Meiser Sheni that must be taken is designated in the northern side of the loaf or in its southern side, i.e. the right or left side of the loaf, and is hereby redeemed into the coins I have set aside for this purpose. The coins are then taken to Jerusalem and spent on food there.